Merry Christmas everyone, or in case I take too long on this video, Happy New Year, or whatever holiday is closest to the time of this upload. Maybe it'll be President's Day. Anyway, now I would describe myself as a certified Netflix hater. Used not to be back in the day when they had stuff like Mindhunter going. Still not over that one by the way, but in the past couple years with the higher prices, password sharing crackdowns, and the throttling of quality if you don't pay for the highest tier, which is so goddamn annoying, I've pretty much left the platform entirely. My wife and I pay for it like 2 months out of the year so we can watch The Great British Baking Show, but aside from that, absolutely wonderful show. I really don't have anything positive to say about the platform. It's just kind of a cesspool with terrible content, but like I said, I do have it for November and December, so while that sub is active, I do like to take advantage and absorb what I can in that time frame. So I watched Hitman and Rebel Ridge and a few other things I wanted to see this year, and I felt pretty satisfied with my couple months of Netflix. Thank you, goodbye, see you same time next year. However, unbeknownst to me, my 2024 Netflix journey was far from over because my wife, angel that she is, one day was like, hey, there's this new Lindsay Lohan Christmas movie on Netflix. You want to watch it with me? To which I said, a fucking course I do. That sounds awful. So we watched it, and then we saw another new one called The Merry Gentleman, and we were like, well, we gotta watch that one too. I mean, come on, it's got Chad Michael Murray in it. And after we saw that one, there was yet another new one called Hot Frosty, which is about exactly what it says it is. And being in way too deep now, there was no scenario in which we could not watch this one also. So we did, and boy, what a mistake that was.
What's cancer?
But this whole mini watch-a-thon thing really got me thinking how much Netflix is kind of turning into the Hallmark channel, because they've had Christmas rom-coms and cheap silly movies for a while now. That's nothing new, but more and more their original in-house programming, not stuff they've bought from actual talented filmmakers, is not just conceptually similar to Hallmark films, but now very much on the same level of quality as them. To the point where you gotta wonder how Hallmark feels about all of this. Like, they are just straight up stealing Hallmark's whole thing. The settings, the plots, the cheapness, the vibe, the brand kind of. Like, there used to be a time not all that long ago where Netflix originals had a pretty good rep, like back when the first season of Stranger Things came out and there was Orange is the New Black and House of Cards and Mindhunter, like I said. And to be fair, they still make some pretty good stuff here and there. That wing of Netflix is not totally dead, but for the most part now, if you see that little logo attached to something new, your mind goes more to stuff like this.
I'm feeling like a kid with you. You're my main chick, those other girls are previews. Hop in the back, rolling up, then we're free to cruise.
They're known more now for terrible reality shows and cheap silly movies and hosting embarrassing events like the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. The brand is this Frankenstein amalgamation of like the Hallmark Channel and Lifetime, TLC, and like the most mediocre collection of films ever conceived, almost like a discount TNT, which, yeah, is a bit of a letdown from where they used to be, but now that they've gone full lowbrow, I must admit, I've had a lot more fun with their content recently. You see, it's all about expectations. Expectations that have gone fully out the window and replaced with the same feeling I used to get when I would throw on TLC back in the day and lose hours of my life watching a person who is sexually attracted to theme park rides. What a time it was back then.
The reason why I'm not eating my own mattress is because I ate my mattress already.
Next Tuesday, she's a whiz in the kitchen, but her style is anything but sweet.
If you never ever want to date again, you just need to wear this.
All new What Not to Wear on its new night, next Tuesday at 9, only on TLC.
So, in the spirit of Christmas and embracing this new reality for the once great platform, I wanted to talk about my experience watching these awful, awful movies, because this right here, whether you like it or not, is the future of Netflix, baby. So you better get on board now.
Fight!
So let's start with where my journey began, with Our Little Secret, starring 2000s legend Lindsay Lohan. Now, she's been on a bit of a comeback on Netflix for a couple years now with Falling for Christmas and Irish Wish, two films that are essentially the exact same thing as this one. You know the story, small town girl, big dreams, 1 to 2 eligible bachelors. These films are exactly what you expect, but with Our Little Secret, the biggest surprise is that it's actually not terrible? I mean, it's not great. This is not what you would call like a surprising hit by any means, but considering what we have to work with, it's pretty good. A classic 2-star banger. This is achieved almost entirely through the cast, which is where that Netflix influence comes in an actual positive way. You see, unlike most Hallmark movies, which can only afford like maybe one washed up actor and a bunch of local aging theater kids, that Netflix money allows them to assemble a pretty decent squad. You obviously got Lindsay Lohan in the lead, you got that creepy teacher from Pretty Little Liars as the male lead, which yes, I have seen that show, don't worry about it. You got Kristen Chenoweth fresh off her cameo in the theater kid Hodge as the evil mother-in-law, Henry Czerny, Dan Bucatinsky, Chris Parnell, and even Tim Meadows, who will pop up seemingly in the most random spots, like he just showed up in Star Wars a couple years ago for no reason. It's awesome. So already, this movie has a whole lot going for it. I mean, you just don't get this kind of talent in these movies. Granted, again, not like the best talent in the world, but to get a real former A-list talent in Lindsay Lohan and guys like Tim Meadows and people like Kristen Chenoweth for a movie like this, it's pretty good. But what is it actually about though? Well, we start with this cute animated intro narrated by Henry Czerny, where he tells us the backstory of our two lovers and how they were best friends forever and were inseparable as kids and are just the two coolest, most awesome people in the whole world.
Call me crazy, call me a romantic, but I think you and my daughter have what it takes to go all the way.
Now, similar to the cast being surprisingly decent, this intro got my expectations up a little bit. I mean, it's not the intro of like Inglourious Bastards or anything, but again, for what it is, it's something. Someone somewhere had a pretty good idea. Then we cut to the year 2014, and it is mercifully not playing the song Happy, which, while appreciated, is also very unrealistic. That was the only song you were allowed to play back then. But here at the, let me check, 1.5 minute mark is where the movie begins to fall apart, because this whole intro clip sets up the fact that Lindsay Lohan and Man are best friends and know each other as well as John Travolta knows how to pronounce Idina Menzel's name. Really hitting you with these 2014 references. And that's all fine and good and works on paper, but the issue is that once you see this supposed romance in action, it becomes very obvious that these two people are not friends. I'm not even sure they even like each other.
Logan, you're drunk. It's our last night together and you're drunk.
Do you ever think that maybe you're leaving is like what drove me to drink?
And yes, I am aware that the rest of this 2014 intro flashback is there to show them breaking up and also doing the Ice Bucket Challenge, so it makes sense to have them at odds in this scene, but this is the case for literally the whole movie. The relationship comes off at best like siblings who barely get along, and at worst people who just straight up hate each other. Like, they have absolutely no chemistry, and without them telling you how close they were, a la Obi-Wan and Anakin, you would never guess that was the case, which, you know, is kind of important for a romantic comedy. It's kind of the whole thing. Though I must admit, it is fun seeing these two almost 40-year-olds pretending to be young people in the year 2014. You can tell he's young because of the hair, and that How I Met Your Mother finale. I mean, can you believe that shit? What were they thinking? At least Joffrey's finally dead. But anyway, one embarrassing drunk proposal and a 10-year jump later, we get to the real meat of the movie, which is they are both dating new people now who happen to be siblings, and they're both coming to the in-laws' house for Christmas having no idea that their ex is gonna be there the whole time. It's a classic whoopsies. So naturally this leads to all kinds of wacky hijinks, and this is where the movie is actually pretty watchable. Again, the romance stuff doesn't really work, but all the crazy in-law comedy with Kristen Chenoweth is pretty good. There's this reoccurring bit with the family's yearly pictures getting increasingly more unhinged and creepy, which kind of reminded me of like The Shining in a weird way. And Kristen Chenoweth just steals the whole movie. She's demeaning to her husband, she hates Lindsay Lohan, and she's cool with her husband having an affair for some reason. It's wild. In short, she's amazing. As is her demon child who gets bamboozled into giving his mom lingerie for Secret Santa. Classic.
I didn't buy that.
You sure? Because you just said you did.
No, Logan did.
What?
Logan?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
For my wife?
No, I bought it for your daughter.
There really isn't a whole lot more to say about this one aside from just saying that it's surprisingly not terrible. It's stupid, it's fun, it doesn't really work, but considering what the bar is here, I'd say it is a rousing success. Also gotta give Lindsay Lohan some real credit because according to my Wikipedia Warrior research, the original title of this movie was Merry Xmas, which is just the dumbest title possible, and thankfully she stepped in and changed it. So big ups to you, Catty Heron. You might not be a very good actor, but at least you got to be in a real movie this year that didn't involve you reading a SeatGeek ad.
Line?
The real issue that came out of me watching this one first is that, unbeknownst to me, this one is something of an exception among these movies. The gap in quality from this to the other two is so great that I did not see it coming, and boy did it hit like a truck. Now, where our little secret felt like more of a Netflixification of a Hallmark or Lifetime movie, The Merry Gentleman is more along the lines of direct copyright infringement. Like, this one is beat for beat a carbon copy of the Hallmark formula, to the point that it almost comes off like parody, though it isn't. You got a small town lady, Ashley, who moved to New York to be in, I guess, this universe's version of The Rockettes, which I didn't know was a full-time year-round job, but whatever, and then gets fired for being an old, dried up 30-year-old prune. That's showbiz, baby. So she has to pack up her things and move back to small town America and get a real job, only to find out that even in small towns, people are worthy of existence too. I mean, you cannot get any more cliche than that. They even follow the Hallmark rule of one washed up actor in Chad Michael Murray and a bunch of randos alongside him. Plus, I'm pretty sure half of his lines are him calling Ashley a city girl over and over again. Like, he's always saying shit like, "Goddamn city girls coming to my town, despicable."
Nice to meet you, city girl. City girl. Come on, city girl. Your chariot awaits.
So yes, this one is much more cliche and stupid, but the benefit of not having anything going for your movie is that you can have just the dumbest plot and it will fit right in there. Case in point, The Merry Gentleman is about Ashley trying to save her parents' bar and restaurant from foreclosure from the mom from Wizards of Waverly Place. Apparently they're $30,000 back on their rent and have till the end of the month to pay her off. And you know, $30,000, while not being like $1 million or like hundreds of thousands obviously, it's still like a lot of fucking money and a nearly insurmountable mountain to climb in less than 1 month for a bar that has literally no patrons. Hell, even Patty's Pub has like a couple of homeless guys who hang out there. But this place is essentially abandoned at all times. And it's not like every place in this town is doing poorly, because Ashley's sister apparently has her own diner down the street that is doing just fine. If anything, it seems to actively be putting her parents out of business. Maybe she should ask her for the money. So after struggling to find a way to make the money back and seemingly having no hope, Ashley finally has an epiphany after she sees local handyman Chad Michael Murray without his shirt. Combining his impeccable physique with her dancing skills, her big idea is to put on a Chippendales type male strip show featuring all of the local town hunks like the bartender and also a taxi driver, which is still a job I guess. Oh, and also this random old man.
Someone needs to be guiding Santa's sleigh tonight.
Step 1, be in crippling debt. Step 2, acquire Chad Michael Murray. Step 3, profit.
So, gentlemen, how does it feel to be the hottest act in town?
Now, I'll be honest, I don't know how to run a restaurant or a bar or have any knowledge of how much money a show like this could bring in a town so small that locals literally call people from New York city people, but I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that this is not an effective strategy to bring in $30,000 in less than 1 month. I mean, maybe if they were like in a big city and had a big net to cast, but even if those guys all kill it and work for free and bring in all the horny moms in town, how many new customers can you really expect to get every night from this? Plus, one of their dancers is, again, like a 58-year-old man, which, you know, he looks good for his age, no disrespect, but if I'm paying for this kind of show, I'm expecting to see Chad Michael Murray, not Hank from Breaking Bad.
Wait, you think this old geezer just sits around doing crossword puzzles and guzzling beer all day?
But against all odds, the show is a smash hit and the line on the graph be going up, even when one of the boys stubs his toe or something and can't dance for that night. And all the while, Chad Michael Murray and Lady are of course falling in love despite his bias against those who come from a major metropolitan area. It's a classic tale of two cities. He's even building her a table in his barn. How cute. But just when you think things are finally looking up for Ashley and Chad Michael Murray and this whole town, she gets a call from the Rockettes telling her that despite her being this gross, ugly old hag, she can have her job back and can return to the Big Apple. And once your boy CMM finds out, ooh, he is done with that stupid bitch. I thought this meant something to you. Guess I should have known not to trust someone that walks in a concrete jungle. Figures.
We're starting to fall for you, Ashley.
But you know how the rest of this turns out. Girl leaves for airport, boy hears her profess her feelings while he hides under a table, girl has a change of heart and comes back in time for the show, bar gets paid off, and everyone lives happily ever after. It is exactly what you expect. And you know, I guess it's watchable, kind of. I mean, they put on a good show with the Chippendale stuff, but most of the movie is just this lady walking around town reminiscing about what it was like to be a Rockette, so, you know, not great. That being said though, if you swap out the creepy teacher guy in Our Little Secret for Chad Michael Murray and have him reunite with Lindsay Lohan, in that one, all of a sudden that movie becomes something you gotta see. The extended Lindsay Lohan cinematic universe is being very much underused in this trilogy, okay? And no movie is more evident of that fact than our last stop in this weird-ass run of films. Now, as I've been saying this whole time, when you go into movies like this, there's certain things you expect to see, and there is a certain level of quality you expect to get, and that was very much the case with these first two movies. Generic, unremarkable, and just not very good, but not like shockingly terrible. I mean, there's only so much bad that can come out of movies like this. They are what they are. But then there's Hot Frosty, a movie that structurally is right in line with other Hallmark or Lifetime adjacent films, but conceptually so beyond the realm of sanity that it becomes something more, something dark, something evil, something that should not exist, something that I unfortunately spent an evening of my life consuming.
What's cancer?
This movie is fucking awful. Now I know it's a movie called Hot Frosty. It's literally about if Frosty the Snowman came to life as a hot young guy and fell in love with a lonely 42-year-old woman. I know what it is, and I know that it's far beyond anything I should have any expectations for, okay? It's my fault, I get it. You watch that trailer, what do you honestly expect? But I'm not asking for a lot here, okay? I just wanted it to be fun. Is that too tall an order? I guess so, because despite the absolutely bananas concept, this is by far the most boring movie of the bunch, which again, considering what it's about, is a real indictment on the people who made this. Like, how can you take a premise like this that is this stupid and this easy to make fun and silly and make it this dull? I simply don't get it. I mean, right off the bat, you have the Hallmark movie queen in Lacey Chabert. This lady has been in like 1,000 of these things, okay? We have a true franchise veteran here. She's like the Marlon Brando of Hallmark movies. You also got Craig Robinson and Joe Latruglio as a couple of goofy cops, which on top of the lead, makes the cast of this movie pretty damn good considering. We open with our lead, Kathy, going through her day, and we see her just kind of going through the motions. She lives alone in a house that has no heat, a leaky roof, and all kinds of other problems that she is not dealing with. But why? Well, it turns out her husband passed away and her grief has prevented her from moving on with her life. Now that is a pretty damn good opening. There's no wacky exes out there, there's no big city, small town stuff, it's just an actual decent setup for a movie. A woman frozen by grief that has given up on life and happiness and is just this shell of herself, destined to wallow in her misery and live out her days as an empty drone. Granted, it doesn't come off nearly that dramatic. I mean, it's not a Charlie Kaufman film here, and scene to scene scene, she seems actually totally fine. But as far as like the setup goes, it's pretty good. At the very least, she has an actual motivation for setting the plot in motion, which is usually not the case for these movies. So she's going about her day and pops into a local shop to deliver some food, and the woman who runs it starts to tell her that she needs a man in her life, and she got her man by throwing on a red scarf and walking into a diner, and that was that. So what does she do? Well, she gives our hero a red scarf, of course. A scarf, mind you, that is apparently a lot more than what it seems to be, because on her way home, she passes by a group of snowmen, one of which is a realistic, hunky, humanoid man, and she adorns him with said scarf and goes along her merry way. So up to this point, the movie is actually pretty decent. Aside from the obvious budget limitations and the nature of what they're making, I can't really say too much against it. It's all fairly well set up. But then of course, as we know, the scarf brings the snowman to life, and this is the guy we have to deal with for the rest of the movie.
I've never had food before. Is that okay?
Yeah, so the real problem with this movie is not so much the execution like the other two, it's that our titular Hot Frosty is just the most annoying man on the planet. I don't want to be mean to this guy, but he's simply the least charming, most irritating character I've seen in any of these movies. Though granted, I did watch The Ultimate Christmas Present recently, and the little kid in that one might be worse. Regardless, watching this guy do his thing is simply unbearable.
Thank you. I love you.
You do not.
I do. I love you.
No, you don't.
I do. I love you.
What really kills it is that they do the thing where, since he is this non-living entity that has now come to life, he has the mind of a baby. He knows nothing, but of course knows enough to speak English, so 90% of this movie is just some classic wacky fish out of water bits and learning how to be a human from all the townspeople. He learns basic home repair from watching HGTV or something. He learns how to cook from Food Network. He learns how to dance from a cop. He even learns how to seduce a woman from middle schoolers. And best of all, since he's of course a snowman, he's always way too hot, which means in order for him to be comfortable, he needs to be shirtless. So shirtless in fact that he's liable to cause car crashes. But since he can't take the heat, he can't achieve his dream of one day going to Hawaii. It is truly some tragic stuff here. He can't take off the scarf or he melts, and he can't be indoors for too long, or you guessed it, he also melts.
All right. You ready for me?
I'm ready.
Here I go.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's working.
Okay, great.
Good. Oh, if the girls could see me now.
Now these are all fine gimmicks that could work if the talent was there, but the two leads have such little chemistry, and Frosty is so annoying that every scene is like grating to watch. It's just such a slog.
It's kind of hot in here, right? Do you think maybe we could open a window? And could I get some more ice, please?
If not for my pride and my weird commitment to always finishing movies I start, I would have turned this off 20 minutes in, okay? It is that bad.
I could wake up tomorrow and be a puddle.
The only thing I'll say that makes this movie bearable at times is Craig Robinson, who plays this tough-on-crime, hard-ass sheriff that spends the whole movie trying to arrest Hot Frosty. For some reason, not really sure why, but every scene he is in, he is hamming it up to the nth degree.
We've all been wondering, who committed the crimes?
He even almost kills Hot Frosty in the end by sweating him out, which is pretty metal. Wish he would have finished the job though. As for the lore behind the magic scarf, we got nothing. I thought for a while that the husband of the woman who gave Kathy the scarf was also a secret snowman, since the dialogue kind of hints at that, and also how else would any of this make sense, but nope, he's just some guy. So how that scarf had magical powers and how that woman did or did not know any of this, I have no idea. But hey, in the end, it doesn't even matter because he got true love's kiss and becomes a permanent man a la Shrek, so whatever. That is 92 minutes of my life I will never get back.
My skin's numb, but it also kind of hurts, like I'm...
Here. You're cold.
Now, do I think that these bottom-of-the-barrel, cheap knockoff Hallmark movies are emblematic of everything Netflix has to offer? No. As bad as most of these movies are, there is still some decent original content to be found. But more and more, the service is slowly morphing itself into the Walmart of streaming services. A shitty, lowbrow, one-stop shop for terrible movies, terrible shows, and hey, you can even play fucking games on it now. Never thought I would see the day where I could run Civ 6 on Netflix, but here we are. But at least I can come back next year and watch Lindsay Lohan and friends go on more magical Christmas adventures. Maybe they can do a Hallmark version of Die Hard, or one where Krampus is Lacey Chabert's ex-boyfriend. The options, I fear, are endless. But at least now we have an official replacement for the same hollow feeling you used to get while watching cable. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and do yourself a favor and don't watch Hot Frosty, because some stuff in life you can take back, but time spent on this, that's lost forever.
Got it.